Choo, 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 choo. There he is. Look at this guy.
You there? Are you there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me good?
Can't hear you. Hold on a sec. Okay, now try.
Is that better?
There you are.
There it is.
Man, you look like a real live radio host. Can you see me? I'm too dark.
That's all right. It's nice to be able to communicate this because I don't really do video. I might shoot this up on my YouTube and stuff like that when we're all done with this. But it's mostly going to be like most people listen to it on, and generally podcast platforms and stuff like that. But
right.
See, there you go. But see, you look good. Look at you. You're a handsome looking man right there. I saw that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm still working there, so it's all good.
Yeah. Look at your beard.
You know what? I'm only about 6 months in, and I got about 9 months to go. So,
is there a goal or what's going on?
So technically, it was supposed to be a 1-year beard.
Okay.
From my birthday to birthday, and my birthday's in July. COVID hit, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm going to start early." And so it was just one of those things. And Aaron hates it already. And I go through phases. Like all of a sudden I'll go through like a month or so where I was like, it's great. It's awesome. All the good things. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, I've had enough of this, with the mask wearing and all that other crap right now. Like it's obnoxious. It really is.
Yeah.
But
you look a little bit like Fitzpatrick.
That I would agree. I can't say no to that. Cause if I was to compare myself to somebody, you're very right to that.
And I could see if you had a mask on too, it'd be sticking out. Like his helmet.
Oh, it's horrible. I look, guys with beards right now that just, you grow them because you want people to see them, and you just don't get that opportunity right now.
No. Anyway, so it looks like you have a picture behind you. You got 2 kids now?
I have 2 kids.
Awesome. 2 boys, looks like, if I can see that right.
You would think that, but my first one is a Laura.
That's right. Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and the other one.
Right.
How long? When did you leave?
I knew that. Yeah.
When did you leave Eau Claire?
We moved back here in 2017.
Yeah, so Bo was around. Bo was around when he was young. He was just a young little buck at that point in time.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so 2 and done.
It seems like it's been, some days I feel like it seems like it's been forever ago that we were there, and then the next day it's like, man, we just left. I mean, it feels like yesterday. So.
But see, that's where you're just kind of like, you left in 2017. I mean, 3 years, and that's not even a lot of time.
3.5 years. Yeah, it was early 2017. We left in March, of 2017. So.
But that's where it is. You're right. 3 years really is nothing. Nick, the older you get now, like how old are you right now?
33. Just turned. My birthday's the end of August.
Oh, there we go. Well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
So that's where it's just like 3 years. At this point in time, is nothing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Laura's 12, and like I try to talk to her about age and just kind of like growing up and stuff like that. I'm like, you're 12 right now. You're going to be 16 tomorrow. Like it's not going to be long. I mean, you think that's 4 years. That's a third of what you've already lived already. So you're going to put that in perspective for them a little bit. It's not too bad, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So she's what is that? 7th grade?
7th grade. You got it.
And she's they're not going to school there really. Mostly online?
Wisconsin's all hybrid, or at least Eau Claire County is all hybrid. So 2 days of school at school, and then 3 days of virtual. So cool. Whatever works right now. Bo's in kindergarten. He's rocking it out there. The nice thing about Bo is that he doesn't know any different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, our oldest is in kindergarten, so kind of same with him. He just you got to wear a mask at certain times, but he's 5 days a week full time.
But you guys in North Dakota never really had much of a shutdown or anything, did you?
No, it wasn't as bad as other places. I'm gonna throw out there that it's due to our awesome Republican governor versus some other states.
Sure.
But we never really had this major spike. It's cases have just kind of been like this, and
sure.
And we didn't have shutdowns. We had people that stayed at home, and we had businesses like salons, barbershops, restaurants, gyms, those kind of things shut down. But PT was always essential healthcare workers, so we didn't really have to close.
Sure, right.
But yeah, so public schools here they're doing a hybrid, so they get like 2 days in the class and 3 days out of the class.
Sure.
And it's like the first half of the alphabet is Monday, Wednesday, and then the other half is Tuesday, Thursday, and then everyone's in online on Friday.
I got you.
Kind of goofy, but anyway, we one of the many reasons we decided to send them to the Catholic school system. So they just can't afford to hire that much staff to do both. So they're going full time.
All of your private schools in Eau Claire are all full time too. So that's where like, you know, Regis full time, Immaculate Conception's full time. Like that, and even Altoona, because not Eau Claire schools or Eau Claire County is, or the school district, I should say, they're full time too. There's around us it is, but I mean, Eau Claire also has. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, Eau Claire just has. It's just sort of, there's so many more people in Eau Claire.
Yeah.
And so that's where you get a high school of 2,000 people sitting in it. So that's where it gets a little spiky.
Yep. Good.
Well, hey man, I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
This will be fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not my first time. I've done one or two of these before.
Okay.
I never did a 5 questions with you, did I?
No.
You were gone, I think, by the time I started doing 5 questions and stuff like that.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Any question I give you right now is not meant to be any kind of curveball. I'm assuming for the most part, you know most of the answers. Some are fun questions, all that other kind of stuff, and we can kind of like veer off from there. But, you know, I look at all of this being at about, should we get a timer going here? 40 minutes or so, give or take a little bit. Sure. So
I just did a podcast with a natural doc in town a couple weeks ago. She's doing it's called Holistic ND podcast. And we talked about just PT and the way we treat with Pilates and specifically postpartum and different things. And the funny thing about it was supposed to be like 30 minutes, ended up being like 50 or 60. And it's kind of fun. Just all of a sudden you just go with it.
There comes a time when all of a sudden you're in the midst of a conversation, and like if you cut off that conversation to meet your timeline, you're going to ruin the conversation. So you have to kind of finish off whatever you're trying to go through and stuff like that. And there's questions that keep leading up to it and stuff like that. I mean, that's a good time. I mean, don't get me wrong. If we get stuck at 2 hours here, we're both going to be falling asleep. So it's,
and anyone listening will be too.
They may too. So I have to ask you a horrible question immediately, because I'm just like trying to go through, and you can never do it. Pronounce your last name.
Yeah, Kudrna. Kudrna.
Okay, there it is. I just need to write it phonetically.
It's really just how it sounds. Just put an E in there between the R and the D and the R, then it really makes sense. Kudrna. Let me know if it gets too dark. I can go inside.
It's all good. We got it. We'll make it fast, right?
Actually, I'll turn on the light here.
See, look at you. I see. I knew you were a smart guy.
Thinking we got a patio light. If I can find it. All right.
Is it starting to cool off for you guys now over there too?
It is. This week's just been. It really has been a nice summer. I got to move my. Got to move my guns and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got plenty of those.
Doc and I were hunting robins in the backyard this evening. It's been a really nice summer. We've got, you can see the trees aren't moving. It really hasn't been too windy, so that's good. We've just been really dry. We haven't had hardly any rain. We need rain bad.
Well, eventually you get there.
Yeah. Well,
it's gonna. It has to come, snow. Right? I mean, that's what it is.
It'll be snow.
It will be snow.
All right.
Well, there we go.
I'm ready when you are.
Let's make this happen. Let's have a good time here. What do you say there, Collin?
Yep.
All right. Well, like I said already, it is fantastic to see you here, Collin. It's been a long time since we're actually talking face to face, and this is about as close to face as we possibly can. Usually, it's via text message, harassing each other over football, and yet what I still enjoy. But I appreciate you spending some time with me today.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we know each other from being in Eau Claire, from you coming over to Fiddle Eat and working out over there. And when you were in Eau Claire, how long were you in Eau Claire?
So I was in Eau Claire for just under 6 years.
Okay, just under 6 years.
Yeah, 2012 to almost beginning of 17. So beginning of 12 to beginning of 17.
Now, was that one of those where you were just finishing school and got a job there, or is that like what brought you even
Yeah.
to Eau Claire?
Yeah. Long story short, my wife got into grad school at UWC there,
Mhm.
for nurse practitioner school. And then, my boss and mentor there in Eau Claire, was actually my business, class mentor in grad school.
Okay.
So, and he happened to have an opening, so that's kind of what convinced us to go to Eau Claire. We were trying to decide between that and Greeley, Colorado, and that job, and also my wife getting into school there was kind of what brought us to Eau Claire in the first place.
I gotcha. But now, like you're there, and you fortunately were able to get a job almost immediately because of your mentor in the same place that you, and we'll get there eventually. But kind of work for that same company right now, correct?
Yeah. Yep. Kind of.
So, so you are a physical therapist.
Yep.
Now, like, give yourself like, are you a? Let me ask this here: you're a doctor of physical therapy?
Yep. Doctor of physical therapy. Yep.
So can I call you Dr. Collin?
You you can, but I prefer Colin. Yeah.
Okay, let's just
No.
keep it low key.
Yeah, yeah, you certainly can. It's a doctorate of physical therapy, kind of like doctor of chiropractic, or yeah, really like my wife is a doctor of nurse practitioner or doctor of nursing practice, I guess is what
Okay.
title is. So, yeah, that's kind of how it works.
So now, when you were here, you and your wife had two children while you were in Eau Claire, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so this is one of those where, was that, I know that part of you moving back, so you're originally from North Dakota.
Originally from about 100 miles to the west of here. Yep.
Okay. And you're currently in what, Bismarck?
Bismarck.
Yeah. So you're from there. But you moved back there. Was it mostly for family? Is that what it was? Like you wanted to be a
Yeah.
little closer to family and grow your family?
Yeah, exactly. My wife and I are both from Western North Dakota, and we always thought we'd be back here at some point. We didn't know exactly when that was. We loved Eau Claire. We loved everything about it. People, just the community itself, our jobs we loved. But we just wanted to get back to our family. We both grew up with our family, with our grandparents, with our cousins, and we knew at some point we wanted that for our kids. And we had our second, and as we were expecting him, we decided it was time to move back. And another part of that was a business opportunity that kind of sealed the idea of coming back. So we moved back here when he was actually 3 weeks old is when we moved back.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. Like I couldn't remember if she was pregnant or like while you
Yeah.
were moving or just had the baby. I knew it was there was really right on the cusp, but like you said that
Yep.
the baby was very young at that point in time. So now,
Yep.
when you were growing up, did you have a very close knit family? Grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we did. My wife and I both did. In fact, when we go back and we're both from the same small hometown, went to different high schools though, didn't know each other a lot. But it's funny now as we got older and we met, we kind of went to two different undergraduate schools and met through a grad school friend of mine. Actually, it was her cousin. And but when we met again in college, we started finding out that my dad helped build her grandfather's pole barn on the farm when he was in
Well,
high
of
school.
course,
I mean, like
why not?
you just
Right.
yeah, you find out those things. Our grandparents had gone to church together for years, and we both were really close with not only our immediate siblings and parents, but grandparents, aunts and uncles, those kind of things. We still are really close with them. So
Do you still like spend a lot of like almost like on a weekly basis? You see some family from either side of
I would
you
say yes. Yep. Yep.
on purpose?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that what?
I've got a sibling about an hour north of here. We see her as much as we can, and my wife's sister lives here in town. We see her, I would say, weekly. We're visiting with an aunt and uncle that live here. We've got a few, and we're visiting with at least one of them every week, and seeing my parents a little more frequently since they're retired. And but we see both parents really frequently.
Now, do you have like your immediate family? Do you have a big family, brothers,
Nope,
sisters, anything? Just
no, there's
you
one
and a
one
sister.
sister. Yep,
Okay, all right.
yep, yep. Younger sister.
Now, how many between you and your wife? How many nieces and nephews do you have?
Let's see. We have one on her side. My sister has two, so three.
Okay, so they're
Yeah.
still young. There's still time for
Yeah.
more.
Oh
You
yeah.
you
Yeah.
you're holding down the masses.
We're the oldest of the crew, so
Right, exactly. So
yep.
you should have the majority.
Yeah, we'll have more coming.
So now this is where I find it interesting because like, you said that you and your wife met each other later in life. You grew up in the same town though.
Yeah, so we knew of each other through sports and whatnot, but we never really hung out that we
Never really hung out
remembered.
there. It's one of those weird things where you just kind of like see this little connection there. There's a slight one, whatever,
Yeah,
things
our friends
separate.
dated each other, but we
Oh,
never
sure.
really. Yeah, we look
May have
back and now
crossed
and
paths a few times and just like,
yeah, we
whatever.
look back and we go, oh yeah, you were at that track meet, I was there, or you were at that Halloween party or grad party, I was there too, but we didn't really hang out, which I think was for a reason.
So that's, I mean, hey, that's one of those things like right now I can even tell, like I've known my wife since we were 16 years old.
Hmm.
And that's one of those things like we hung out, we spent time with each other until like our early 20s. And there was probably about 7-8 years where we separated. We just kind of went our own way and everything. And then life kind of brought us back together. And I believe that without that separation, without that time in
Yeah,
between, like we wouldn't have had the relationship that we have now.
yeah, for
And
sure.
that's one of those things you have to look at and reflect on that and be like, yeah, I enjoyed life in my way, she did in her way, and you
Yeah,
have to appreciate those things for everything that's worth
and
and
you
the
learn
things you
from it,
learn.
right? Yeah,
All the learning
yeah,
that you did with that.
yeah.
Exactly. So now you have 4 children, correct?
We have 4 children as of a week ago. Yeah,
As of a week ago, and
yeah,
congratulations, my
yeah.
friend.
Thank
That
you,
is
thank you.
fantastic. And so that is now. Are you on a paternity leave or any of that kind of stuff? Do you put
A
yourself
little
on
bit.
that a little
Yeah,
bit?
so yeah, exactly. So we had her last Tuesday, and it was a girl, by the way. We waited to find out. So now we have 2 boys, are the 2 oldest, and then 2 girls. So they're 5. Geez, what are they now? Well, a little over 5.5, 3.5, 2, and now baby. So, um, and yeah, so we had her last Tuesday, and I took the rest of the week off last week, and then this week I technically have off. Our clinic was getting busy, and I just had to get into some normalcy of a schedule here. So I went in today for a few hours, saw a few patients to catch up, some of on the cancellation list.
Sure, and that's fair.
Doing little things. I'm doing a little adjunct teaching for the university here tomorrow, and just little things like that. Just kind of keep them busy, but mostly spending time with the little one, and mostly that and carting the other 3 around for
Well,
mom, so she can
absolutely.
recover.
The wife is very busy with everything right now with
Yeah,
obviously the new baby. So like, and do you have a lot of family at the house then coming in, visiting, all that kind of stuff?
we did all weekend. Yeah, for sure.
And then you're like,
Yeah,
it's time to leave now. Like everyone
yeah,
needs to get out.
yeah. It's good.
That's fair. I understand that. I mean, there comes a time when Bo was born where like we pretty much told Aaron's parents like take Alora for like 3 days. Just let us just get acclimated here just a little bit, and
Yeah,
then we'll be fine through there.
right. Exactly.
So I mean, so you have 3 older ones and everything. That the baby's the baby, whatever. But 3 of them, what's bedtime like for you?
So bedtime right now, and even at a week now, things have changed. The first few days, mom's feeding the baby, and dad's got the 3 for bath time and bedtime, and that's kind of what it is now. So bedtime, our typical routine is that we, of course, have eaten together, and then after we usually play a little bit of something. Typically, it ends up being a wrestling match uh, with the
That's
boys
as it
against
should
dad.
be, right?
And then typically bath time all together, brushing our teeth together, and then it's a book. Um, Typically together. The 2-year-old attention span isn't quite as good, but it's a book all together. Say our prayer time together, and then it's kind of, I like that time because I can spend a little bit of extra time, even if it's just 5 minutes in each of their beds with each of them, and kind of have a little chat with just one-on-one with them. Um, so that's kind of how it works. Usually it's kids are in bed by 7:30 on a school night. Um,
Sure.
just because mornings are early for us. We both still work. So we're pulling the kids out of bed at 6:30 in the morning.
That's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
my son's poking me in the face about 5:30, 6 o'clock, Dad.
Is he really?
Dad. Oh yeah. If I'm home, I'm usually at the gym at that point in time. But I mean,
Right.
if I'm home, he is an early riser, just like I was, and still am.
Yeah.
And so that's where like I don't argue with it.
Yeah.
Like last night though, last night he came in. It was like 12:42. Dad, I want to climb into bed with you. Like, absolutely not. Like, get back to your room. Like, not right now. And like, mom isn't even in bed yet. Like, just go. Just like,
How old is Bo?
Bo is 6.
Wow. Okay.
So Bo's 6. He's in kindergarten, I should say. He's going to
Right.
be the old kid in kindergarten right now because he's got an August birthday and stuff. So like this week just turned 6. He could have did kindergarten last year, being in first grade, but it was interesting when it comes to kids and you watch how they grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see literally about every 3 to 6 months you see a switch and change in them.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you see the next level. Mm-hmm. And when at the beginning of last year where he could have gone to kindergarten, Aaron and I looked at each other like, he's just not ready. He's just not
Mm-hmm.
there yet. But once January, February hit, you're like, this is the time when he could have gone to kindergarten. Like he would have been just fine right now. So there's
Mm-hmm.
you can physically see that growth that's happening, which is fantastic to do when you're paying attention to it. And as a
Mm-hmm.
father, it's endearing at the same time and sad too, because you love this age. Like I love
Yeah.
the age that he's at right now because it's just my little buddy.
Yeah, he is, and he's learning so much, right? I don't know if your kindergartners like mine, but in analyzing everything, questioning everything in a good way, and sometimes, as you said, the most challenging thing to me is trying to remember that these kids change at their own rate. You know, um, sometimes I catch myself trying to almost get upset with my 3-year-old because he's not doing what the 5 almost 6-year-old's doing, and you got to go, wait a second, they're 2 to 6. So,
You're right. There's a little
so
difference happening
yeah,
here.
so tonight we were talking with my kindergartner about music class and gym class and new friends and how that all works. And then I had a conversation. I'm so pumped because my 3.5-year-old's just finally can now tell me. I shouldn't say finally. He just is now learning how to write his name out. So
Oh,
he can
sure.
do the first 3 letters of his name. So it's kind of fun to have multiple kids where you're in all those stages kind of at the same time, and you go through them multiple times.
But they're close enough now that does like the 5-year-old, 3-year-old actually like play together?
You know,
Yeah,
they're the best friends in the world.
are they? That's wonderful because I've seen
Yeah.
them with they'll play around each other,
Yep.
but now that they actually play together, see that's
Oh, all the time. And they share a room now too, and they love that. That's gotten them really close.
you found them like in each other's bed in the morning or anything
Oh
like
yeah,
that. Like,
for sure. Yeah,
see,
yeah.
that's
The older one's got a book pretending to read to the other one.
just trying.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. But see, that's where that's one of those great things here. And like you said, like when it comes down to like you want your 3-year-old to do what your 5-year-old's doing, it's hard to remember. And let me put it this way. So when Bo was starting to get old enough where we had to, we were reprimanding him for doing certain things, all that kind of stuff. Alora, who's 12 now, was getting mad at us because, well, like, why are you letting him get away with this? You never let me get away with this. And,
Yeah.
she didn't see the back and forth because you have to treat every child's different.
Yeah. Exactly.
What Alora felt was, being punished. Bo just kind of like just off his, he didn't care at all, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to change and twist. How are we going to punish you or whatever that is to affect you so you don't want to do it anymore? So you have to find those different lines, and like as for Laura, it took a while for her to actually figure out like, oh, okay, I understand now. And that was a lot of conversations with her just so she had a good understanding. But your kids are young enough now where they don't have to question it. They're not really going to question too much. They will eventually,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Exactly.
Like, why can I do this? And, the other person can do this, but we can't. I mean, and those are just conversations to have together. But now you have this time with your kids. You have these little moments there. Do you ever just take your one child to the store to spend a little one-on-one time with them?
Yeah, we try to, and of course, at this very moment, it's a little tough. But we definitely try to do that. One of the things I like to do is take one of the boys and eventually the girls as well golfing. That's a fun place to spend one-on-one time for a couple hours, and they love it because what's there not to love? They're with dad, and they get to drive a motorized thing, and they get to try to hit a ball with a stick. So same reasons I love golf. But that's one thing that we like to do. We also just like you said, though, like a store, just even simple things like that. At this age, that's the other fun thing when you said Bo is your little buddy. It's fun because, yeah, like you said, going to the hardware store to them is a blast. Because they're doing it with dad.
That's exactly it. That's all they want to do. They just want to be with dad. They just want to hang out and just tell you stories.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to me when I have when I hear of people that aren't necessarily willing to take their kids places like that because of the way they may act or they perceive their acting, or I should say maybe perceive that other people are thinking about how their kids are acting. Is that, if that makes sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
And
Absolutely.
I just think, man, that's too bad. Number one, how's your kid ever supposed to learn to act appropriately in public? And number two, you're missing out on those opportunities to spend quality time with them outside of the home where the other kids are craving your attention as well. So we definitely try to do that. The other things I like to do is one of the I guess rituals that traditions that I decided to do when I started my own business was one of the things that I do to try to spend time with my kids was to I take their birthday off every year. So whatever day that day falls on, I take that day off for each one of their birthdays. It's just dad and that kid, and it's their birthday. So last January, and our oldest, we went to the indoor golf league or indoor golf simulator and got him fitted, in quotation marks, for new clubs, and got him a set of clubs. It's something a little more elaborate like that. Or when my 3-year-old turned 3, we went to the zoo. I think something just simple that he's done a million times, but because it's just him and I, you could just tell it was that much more special to him.
And those things that he may or may not remember that, but that is something that you, and if you do that year after year after year, that is more important too. Like, this is where, Aaron and I have talked so many times about the things that we give our children, the things that we give them. Right now, we've talked to Bo about times like, what did you get for your birthday last year? And he's like, I have no idea. Not a clue. And then we asked him about, like, so when we were in Florida with the family, we went canoeing, what did we see? She's like, oh, we saw these manatees, and we were like floating down there, and Uncle Brandon said this, and Casey said this, and it's just like those mean so much more. Those little moments right there, things are things. Sure. And that's where, like, you could say that if your house burns down, like, I don't care what, the house could burn down and everything with it means nothing to me. It's all stuff.
That same thing was brought to light this last Christmas. We started a tradition of after Christmas, they each have to pick 5 toys to put in a box, and we send it back to the North Pole.
Sure.
So Santa can give it to other kids. It's a way for us to clean out the toys and stuff, and it's a way for them to learn about giving. But the interesting thing that we learned about it was that's another thing about parenting. They teach you more than you try to teach them, but they end up teaching you, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So we were thinking we're going to teach them this great lesson, and what they taught us was that same thing about or reinforced the idea about things, because they picked some of their favorite toys, some of the things that they have certain toys or things that they want to make sure are in place before bed every night, or something like that, or they can't go to daycare without that certain thing. And those are the things they wanted to put in the box. And you're kind of going, really, buddy? You want to, as a parent, you're like, you want to get rid of that? That's your favorite, whatever.
Right.
And they say, yeah, no, it'll be someone else's favorite thing too. And it's just like, wow, okay, that's really cool.
That means a lot. And that's where you just, like, I can, as a dad moment right now, like, I could feel like my eyes just kind of like started to well a little bit, because it just brings a joy to you that they're willing, they have that empathy, they have that little bit of love in their heart already, that they're willing to give up something for somebody else. And that's just good parenting. That's just bringing them right and giving them the good things. And so, yeah, I called you a good Colin, or I called you a good parent there, Colin. So it's just so you know. But this is where I have to ask you. We're gonna go back to, like, the grocery store here for a second.
Yeah.
So now, do you and your wife have different ways of treating your children when in a grocery store? Now, if you have a hard time answering this, I will give you examples.
Okay. Oh man, that's a good question. I think we both are very similar, and of course, I think that's why we work well together. But at the same time, I don't know. To be honest with you, I guess one of my thoughts is that we don't go together, my wife and I together at the same time. I'm not sure what you. So but in general,
you handle situations differently.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, like, church is another example, maybe, that we're together at. In public, right, or a restaurant.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't really think we treat them much different, to be honest with you. I think we're pretty similar.
But there's got to be some things with, like, your kids where they're something will bother your wife, but it won't bother you, vice versa, all that kind of stuff of certain actions or behavior.
I want to say it probably depends more on the day.
Is that right?
It depends more on the mood that my wife and I are in.
I mean,
there's some days that I'm a lot more lenient and laid back than she is, and I think there's some days where it's vice versa, where they're doing something where I don't necessarily give them the time maybe the time that I should, and I need to be a little more lenient. So, yeah, honestly, maybe it sounds cliche, but I think we really are very similar.
Very similar. All right, that's fair. I mean, that's very, very viable with that there.
Yeah.
Now, I asked that.
I would say I would be the one to probably more enforce things. So if someone's going to take a kid out of church because they're misbehaving and have a lecture with them, it's going to be me.
Sure.
Does that make
That's fair. That's understandable.
That's maybe one big difference.
So I bring that up because, like, we'll go back to the grocery store, and I know that Erin and I barely ever go to the grocery store together because of just schedules and all that kind of stuff. But she complains to me all the time about just more bold right now because of his actions, and more or less like he's not misbehaving. He's loud. He is, and won't stop talking, and talks to everybody. And
he's a 5-year-old.
Oh, he's a 5-year-old, and
yeah.
he's kind of and Erin's in more what you'd refer to as an introvert. So she doesn't want that attention brought her way. So she'll constantly be like, "Shh, just bring it down. Just stop talking. Let's, hey, do you want some fruit snacks or something like that? Like, let's shove something in your mouth so you stop talking."
Hey, that's a good point. That's again bringing me back to church.
Right.
That's the first thing my wife probably goes to is a snack,
right.
And I'm kind of like, do we even need to bring those? Because it ends up just being a fight.
I mean, you give them to one, you better hand them out to everybody.
Yeah, and it's the same as I would say at grocery store. And I'm kind of like you. If my 5-year-old's going to talk to someone, I'm probably going to go talk to that person too.
I'm all there. I'm like, let's have a conversation with this. Yeah,
or they'll walk by and as a 5 or 6-year-old, they go, why is that guy wearing shorts instead of pants? Just random questions, and I'll say, I don't know, let's go ask him. So
right.
we'll go ask him.
And that's where it's like, no one's ever been mean to Bo because he'll say hello to everybody. And who cannot be, if you're in a bad mood and you have a 5 or 4 to 6-year-old smiling at you saying hello, that frown's going to turn upside down because you're just like, well, hi there. Like, that's just a mood lifter right there. And so like, that doesn't bother me at all. So that loud over talking, I find it hilarious because again, 5-year-old, you have no idea what's coming out of their mouth at that point.
Yeah.
And so the randomness is the best. So where that doesn't bother me at all, I encourage it because it's just entertaining. I want Bo to express himself a little bit more, where Erin gets a little bit like, shh, right now. So that's about all that is. And so
I could see that.
Now you said that. Are you the enforcer in the house?
I would say so. Yeah. And I grew up with that too. Maybe that's probably why, my mom would, and Brittany is good at lecturing appropriately and all that stuff. But, I grew up in a house too that if I respected my mom, but if dad got involved, I knew it was serious.
Sure. That's fair.
And I think it's probably pretty similar here.
That's fair. That makes sense. And I think I'm the enforcer more than mom here, but generally though, that's one of those things that dad's enforcing all the time, but when mom boils over, watch out.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just like, get out of the way, stop talking, put your eyes down, don't make eye contact. Things are about to be bad. It's all right, but we're all gonna get through this together.
Yeah, or I'm the one I will sit like tonight at the dinner table. Supper took a while because I sat with our middle two, and I just sat with them until they were done with their food. They had to finish what was on their plate, and I waited. Right. Mom doesn't have the patience to wait. She just doesn't.
No.
But I grew up with that. I think it's a lot about how you grow up. I grew up in a house that you finished what you ate. You were asked to be excused, and if you didn't eat everything, my dad would typically say, "Yeah, you can go." And then I'd wake up for breakfast the next day, and guess what would be on my plate? Dinner that I didn't eat. So
did you eat? So you're a clean plate club person,
for the most part, yeah.
And you enforce that on your children,
for the most part.
So now
I can tell if they hate it. I don't want to ruin them to that food,
right?
But I can tell it if they're just stalling or whatever. Yeah, you're gonna eat your food.
When you hit the 45-minute mark from the time you start eating, and they're still just sitting at the table, at what time? Like, is there a time where you got smoke coming out of your ears? You're just like, just put it in your mouth.
No, I typically I just wait.
Just wait. Just patient.
Just wait them out, because they'll eventually eat it. They just, at that age, they're a lot of times it's just their focus isn't there.
Right, they're all over the place.
Yeah, like our kindergartner now eats really well, but our 3 and 2-year-old, it's sometimes not even that they're not hungry, or they're not being defiant. They're focused on other things. And
sure,
that's where I'll wait until you're done eating, instead of saying, "Oh, it's okay, you don't have to eat everything."
Yeah, when it comes to
I hate throwing food away.
I mean, now, do you eat food off your kids' plates?
Oh yeah.
You do?
For sure.
I physically can't do it at all. And Erin gives me crap about that all the time because she watched her dad just be like, "Oh, you're not going to eat that?" Like, grab the fork, reaching across, grab it, all that kind of stuff. And so, but I'm just like, I'm kind of I don't want to say a germaphobe, but just that kind of stuff like there. I don't want to eat half-eaten food. I don't care if it's for my children or not. And to each their own. Don't get me wrong. I get it. I've seen it. I understand it.
I'm not going to eat what they've already chewed on. But
Sure. Well, yes, no, there's a fine line with that. But if you see in a 5-year-old with a fork, like, it's all
right.
over his
Yeah.
face, and it's just kind of
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm good. I don't know what other food to touch. It's good. I'm good.
Hmm.
Like, it's all right. So, all right, there, Colin. So now you were working here in Eau Claire at Optimum Therapies. You
Hmm.
moved back to Bismarck to open your own business. Now, did you go? You knew you were going to open your own business going back there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was part of the reason why I went. Yeah.
Did you know that it was going to be Optimum Therapies, or did you look
Yeah.
into like starting something more personal?
No. So here's the story. I mean, basically, I was. I remember. I'll never forget it. Having coffee and breakfast with my then boss. Actually, after just meeting with, I'm not sure if it was you or Dave about programs with the trainers there
Mm-hmm.
at Fiddle Eat, and I was kind of bringing that up to him and seeing what he thought about it, and we kind of got on a conversation about, where do I see myself in the next 5 to 10 years, and we kind of got on that conversation of, do we want to move back home? And I said, honestly, I want to be home at some point for our kids, and whether that's 5 years from now at that point, or 15, I didn't know. And I said, but if I could pick up what we were doing as a clinic there in Eau Claire and move it to Bismarck here, I'd be home tomorrow. And he kind of looked at me and just said, well, let's do it. And that kind of spurred it was always on the back of my mind to own a clinic, but I didn't really know how I would do that. Being a dad as well, what would be the best way to kind of do that, to have a family life too.
Sure.
And I couldn't think of a better way to do that with a mentor um, having my mentor be a business partner as well. So the way it kind of works is it's a whole separate entity. So we're 600 miles away. Um, I chose to use the same name, mostly because I couldn't think of anything better, honestly.
Okay.
And the fact that we share an administrative team. Part of that is marketing and HR stuff. If I totally change the name, that is reinventing a wheel that's already there, right?
That's
Both
fair. Sure.
with cost and everything. So, um, the government made me put of North Dakota on the end of it to be a separate business entity.
Sure.
Um, but really, yeah, it's a separate business entity. I'm the majority owner and president, and my mentor and now business partner is a minority partner and vice president of this company. So he's got his clinics there in Eau Claire, Rice Lake, and Menominee, and then that's all Optimum Therapies, and then I have Optimum Therapies of North Dakota here. So it's a separate business entity, but kind of confusing because it's the same name. But
I
again,
mean,
it's 600 miles apart. Doesn't really matter.
doesn't really matter at all. Nobody
Yeah.
gives a like at all. But that's where
Yep.
now. So starting that initially, because there you had a lot of collaboration with there. I mean, obviously there's a lot of branches when it comes out there. When it comes down to like doctor referrals, insurance companies, there's a lot of things from there. So there was an easy slide in then to try
Yeah, because
to get it all put together.
we had processes that work, right?
Right.
So, and I just kind of took those and spun them a little bit, spun them a little bit to work for North Dakota and the environment here. Bismarck, Mandan, we're separated by the Missouri River. If people are thinking about the geography here, we're two cities separated by the Missouri River, kind of like Eau Claire and Altoona is separated by a highway. We can kind of think of the river there, and where Bismarck is, 60 to 80,000 people. Mandan's another 20 to 30. So it's ends up being about the same size as there. People are very similar. It's Midwest. So it really didn't take a whole lot of changing to make it work here.
Sure.
And moving here with that in mind, again, we out of the administrative team, we created another team that services my clinic. So I'm basically outsourcing things like payroll, HR management, marketing management, my operations manager. One of the big things is billing, my billing team, insurance verification team, and all those things. So moving here, I had my help of my billing team to get credentialed here, and also help me go through my insurance contracts, make sure I'm signing what I should be, and getting the best contract that I can. Everything from that to my operations manager helping me train my front office here. And any staff that I add here, they have access to that administrative team. So that's a monthly outsourcing fee. I'm not the first one
Sure.
to do that. A lot of dental offices do that. And there's a few PT clinics that do it around the country. I'm the first one around here that did it, but definitely not the first PT in the world to do it.
Right.
And that stuff really helps me. Number one, it helped me get going right away. I hit the ground running, right? I had processes that worked. I could focus more on my skills as a therapist and getting people in the door, and then getting my feet on the ground, marketing myself in the community. I didn't have to do a lot of that extra back work, submitting my billing and all that stuff that can burn a therapist out when they own a clinic. And then secondly, it helps me come home and sleep at night and be with my family. I don't have to be up all night posting my billing that I did that day of treatments and stuff that way.
Hey, time is money, plain and
Yeah,
simple. That's
exactly.
the way to look at that. And if you have the ability to be able to, again, outsource some things to make your life easier for everything else,
Yep.
do it all the time. Absolutely.
Right.
So now, when you moved to Bismarck, to the time you opened the door, how long were you there before? What was that time span right there?
Yeah, so we moved so our boy was born in March, the 22nd, and my first day first day of seeing patients was right around May 29th, I think was the date.
Oh, that's really fast.
Yeah. I started planning. So we opened in spring of 17. I really started planning in the spring of 16 was that conversation with my business partner. And so we took a year to plan, and things were pretty well in place. Again, I'm using the administrative team that I was already working with
Sure.
there. So I had like my marketing collateral and boxes ready to go. I had all that stuff ready, and I had gone back in October of 16 and found a physical location. So I was able to do that from a distance, and just had some finish work to do when I got there, and hire some front office people and hit the ground running. So
Now,
I
were
kind of
you
had
able?
April there, the month of April, to really finish up the physical space.
Sure, I got you. So now, how many hours a day were you working right off the bat there? Did you have to go into let me put it this way, a week. If you were thinking about right in that first month that you were open stuff, were you doing 60, 70, 80-hour weeks or anything like that? Or because you had everything in place, you didn't have to?
I didn't have to. Yeah, I mean, there was still some of that for sure. Just getting out there, and I was seeing people later or earlier because I was out visiting docs or doing a community event or something during the middle of the day when I could be seeing patients. But and there was definitely some late nights, and there's still some late nights as a business owner, and especially the more staff I add here and stuff. That's always going to be a thing, and that's okay. I understand that. But again, that the way we did it and the structure we did it in, it allowed me to hit the ground running and continue to be a husband and a father.
Are you able to fully separate, you get done with your day, you go home, are you able to fully separate work from family? Or is there, you got to imagine that there's days every once in a while where you have a certain patient that's just spinning in your brain.
Oh, well, yeah. And that was the same whether I owned a business or I was just a practicing therapist in Eau Claire. That's similar to you. You get home and you thought about a client, I'm sure, and go, gosh, I wish I had done this with them or that with them.
Absolutely.
But as far as the business side of things, one of the things I told my wife when we were discerning whether we're going to do this is I said, I promise that I may be up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. to get into work and or the gym and all that, but I will always be home for dinner, and I will always, at least, I shouldn't say always, but mostly 95% of the time I'm going to be home for dinner, and I'm going to be definitely home for bedtime with the kids and that kind of thing to spend, because really, as a working person, whether I own a business or I'm just or I don't, oftentimes as a parent you get 2 or 3 hours with your kid a day.
Right.
It's and so I want that time. If I have to get up early and get my stuff done, that's fine. But I'm not going to stay at work till 9 o'clock at night. I'll come home and do more before bed or get up early. And I've been able to stick to that pretty well.
Now, are you still working out?
I am, yeah. It's transitioned. I found a CrossFit gym. I've been to a couple different gyms outside of CrossFit here.
Sure.
I did end up going back to a CrossFit gym. I guess it was not this. It'd be July of 19, and was there all winter. COVID hit. I was feeling good about myself. COVID hit. They had to shut down, unfortunately, but they were able to provide a home workouts.
Sure. Yeah.
I did them in my garage, and my neighbor saw me doing them, and he wanted to get a little healthier with me, so he started doing them with me, and we still work out together in my garage.
Hey,
so
you know what?
I actually have a PR. You've heard of PRX or Performance RX?
Yeah.
home gyms. Yeah, that you put up on the
Yeah.
wall. So I have those sitting in boxes in my garage.
Oh,
So
they're all the retractable ones that you can slide up against the wall and pull out and stuff.
yeah. So now I'm finally going to go from just dumbbells to finally going to have a barbell again, and he's going to continue working out with me. But that's had to change a little bit. Yeah, it's been a crazy spring. We've all good things, but we've just we moved to a new house here 3-4 weeks ago. Had a baby, COVID. It's been a crazy
I
spring.
mean, hey, if you're gonna do one, do it all, right? Just get it all out of the way in one shot.
Yeah, so that's always a hard thing, and I would ask you, how do you handle balancing life, and not just work and family, but I always think of 3 or 4 major things. I think of your work, because I think that's something that God brings you to, and you serve Him through your work, but also just in general, how do you handle keeping up your family life, your spiritual life, and I think maybe health could be the second word of that. So your spiritual health, your physical health, your family health, right? And then just your personal health, personal growth, right? Whether that's reading or just growing as a trainer for your situation, all those things.
So for myself, it all starts off with my day starts at 3 a.m. Okay?
Yeah.
That's how, like, 5 days a week, my day starts at 3 a.m. And that's my choice. I choose to do that because, like you, I'm willing to wake up early, get a lot of stuff done so I can get home early in the day so I can spend time with my family. So I will find that balance in there. I get up at 3, head off to work around 3:45, 4 o'clock, and I'm there until anywhere between 2 and 3 usually is when I leave work. And inside of that window right there, I have the opportunity to work out with clients. I'm able to sit down and do some good reading. Like when it comes down to that mental health, a lot of like mindset type of stuff, do a lot of reading at work there, because that falls into my job at the exact same time, because not only am I working on myself, but these are the tools that I get to use talking to members and clients and all that other kind of stuff too, to help guide them to what's best for them. When time comes when I get home there, like I make sure that I give my children as much attention as I can. And now my daughter's 12, so she'll come home and be like, "Hey, Dad," and she'll walk into her room and shut her door. So, I mean, every once in a while I'd be like, "Laura, come on, let's get outside. Let's go outside for a little bit, do something or anything like that." But it's making sure that they know that I'm around. These are the hours that you're going to see Dad, and make sure that, especially with Bo right now, like we're doing things, finding activities that we can do and we can share together. Not only that, as a family too. It's not every day we sit down and watch a movie by any means, but we sit down and eat as a family, like 95% of the time. Like we don't have TV trays. We're not sitting in front of the TV or any of that kind of stuff. We're sitting down, we're talking while we're eating dinner, and we want to make sure that they have that balance. At the end of the day, the kids, about 8 o'clock is when we start shutting the kids down. Usually about 7:30, Laura's like, "I'm going to bed," and then she's up till midnight staring at her phone or whatever she's doing at that point in time. But 8 o'clock, this is where we go into Bo's room and we read some books and we talk and put him to bed. It's usually about 8:30 at that point in time. From there, I give Aaron the next 40 to 60 minutes. That is her and I time. Because through all of this, when it comes down to my own mental health, I can look back and say, like, when I moved from Superior to Eau Claire, I moved there for her. She is the reason why I am here. And I want to make sure that she knows that I want to be here. I want to be the third. If I was being extremely selfish, I would put Bo to bed and then I would go to bed too. But then her and I wouldn't have any one-on-one time because the kids are constant. We can sit and cook and talk and all that kind of stuff, interruptions, all that other kind of stuff. But like, I try to shut the day down to make sure that I have that opportunity to have, regardless if we sit and watch a crappy show, we sit and talk, we do whatever we're doing during that period of time for us. And that is one of my favorite times right there, because again, she is my number one. I love my kids to death and will always do. But again, Erin is the reason why I'm here, and I want to make sure that she knows that I'm doing all of this other stuff to make sure that she's happy and we're happy as a family.
That's awesome.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
So now when you guys, kids are sponges.
Yeah.
You say all the things you want to grow. You say the wrong thing and they hear it from the other side of the room, and then they say it and you're like, "Oh, crap." But whatever. But now, is there anything that you've ever said that you know for sure that was not meant for their ears?
Yeah, I would say just typical swear words.
Right.
Is an obvious one.
Right.
Or I think also just talking about maybe subjects that they're not ready, or you think they're not ready to learn about. Maybe that's death, right? A
Sure.
conversation, a topic that you go, oh, I wasn't ready to explain that one yet, but here I go, because I mentioned it. Or yeah, right now was a good example is just how you're discussing COVID and the coronavirus. How are you discussing that in your family? Are you discussing it in the family? And because you want to discuss it because they're going to be seeing it outside of the home, but you also don't want, you can't live in fear.
Sure.
So that's probably one that you go, oh, I just had my 5-year-old, our second boy has allergies real bad, kind of like he got that from me. So without any rain here, it's been so dry. Over the weekend, we were outside so much, mowing the lawn especially, and he was sniffling that night. And the next morning, he had a little cough. I could tell from drainage at night. Not sick, but he mentioned something. He's like, oh, he's 3.5. He said, gosh, why am I coughing in a 3-year-old voice? And my 5.5-year-old goes, well, it's because you have the coronavirus. I'm like, wait, let's not go there. So
yeah,
that's probably a current one.
Sure.
And maybe not an exact word, but just a topic, and being careful of how you present it. Otherwise, just a typical 4-letter swear word that you let slip once in a while, and you go,
whatever. The professional is like, Dad, what does shit mean?
Yeah, they'll say, Dad, I heard that. You shouldn't say that. That's a bad word.
That's a bad word. Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah.
All right, Harry.
Yeah.
We're running out of time here. I got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, kids.
Yeah.
What is something about your kids that drive you up the wall?
Whining.
Oh, the whining.
And not just whining. It's I'm gonna make more specific. It is sometimes the lack of appreciation of things, if that makes sense. So they have a good dinner in front of them, and they say, "Oh, my chicken is not cut correctly." Right. Just simple little things, or the 5-year-old wanting the next thing all the time. You do something fun with them, and they say, "Well, what are you doing after this?" Oh, geez. Okay. Well, we just did something fun for an hour.
Right.
But understanding that's still they're learning that appreciation piece. But that's a pet peeve of mine is whining about things that are good, not just not being appreciative.
Not being appreciative, and this is where the hard part is that Aaron and I cook meals 95% of the time.
Yeah.
There's not more. That's where we rarely ever go out to eat or anything like that. And we cook good meals. And
right.
I like to say that Aaron and I are good cooks. So you are eating good food when we put that in front of you. And then when they sit and complain about it, I just want to just.
Yeah. Or when they're eating and they say, I want instead of can I please have, or even can I have, right?
Sure.
I want this. Well, ask me again, please. Like, no, start from the beginning.
Right. That's I can understand this. This is so those one thing that just I still can't get is, and I knew this going into the whole parenting thing, that you were going to have to repeat yourself and stuff like that. Yeah. But for the love of everything good and holy, how much you have to repeat yourself. I'm not even done. I don't think I'm even halfway there yet. It is absolutely insane how much you have to repeat yourself, and you want to punch yourself in the face every time you have to do it.
And things that you like, why do I have to tell you that again?
Right.
Why do I have to tell you every time we take a bath? Yeah. Every time we take a bath, why do I have to tell you not to drink the water? Like you're in the bath.
Don't drink the water.
Yeah.
All right, Collin. Well, I know you and your wife very well, and you guys are absolutely great parents. And I know this because you're great people when you were here in Eau Claire, and I know that I miss you, and I appreciate every time that we get a chance to harass each other. And with my last question, is KC going to win the Super Bowl again this year?
I would have to say yes.
That's
I would have to say they at this point they haven't shown me any reason why they shouldn't.
Right on. I can't argue with that at all.
Yeah, and I didn't see the game was on Monday. It was in Denver. I know they won.
Denver lost.
The Titans won. Yeah, they lost kind of at the end, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Last second field goal.
Was that in Denver?
That was in Denver. That is
Did
correct.
they have fans in the stadium?
There was like there was a very small percentage, like maybe 10, 15%, maybe 20.
Yeah, I think Arrowhead's at 22%.
Yeah,
But watching all weekend, I'm going, Arrowhead's the only stadium with any fans. So that was a little disappointing.
You know, I think they're going to slowly slide them in. I thought Denver wasn't going to have anything until at least week 3 or anything like that, but it'll come. It'll all come.
We'll see.
It's going to come
We'll
back
see.
there.
We'll see.
All right, Collin. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate your time. You take care of yourself.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime.
You got it.
All right, later.
Later.